Welcome to the Issues and Answers City Council Candidate Forum. I'm Ron Milhorn, the moderator tonight. I'm the news director at KMTS Radio. This event brought to you courtesy of tonight's sponsors, the Glenwood Springs Chamber, Glenwood Springs Post-Independent, and KMTS. Questions have been collected from the public and a media panel in advance and sorted to avoid duplication and to ensure that a wide variety of topics are addressed tonight. We will not be taking questions from the audience. The event is also available virtually via Zoom, and there is a Spanish interpretation option available on the Zoom. Links to the recording will be posted to postindependent.com, kmts.com, and glenwoodchamber.com after the event. Candidates will give a 2-minute opening and 2-minute closing statement. Candidates will be organized alphabetically by last name and will not be grouped by wards. All candidates will participate in the Q&A together, answering the same questions in rotating order. As the moderator, I will ask the questions of the candidates. Each response is limited to 90 seconds. Our timer tonight is Tara Harmon. She'll hold up a card reminding tonight's speakers that they have 30 seconds remaining to answer a question. She will also let them know when their time is up. Candidates are in alphabetical order by last name. John Banks, Ward 5 candidate. Ward 2 candidate, unopposed, Ray Schmahl. Steve Smith, Ward 5 candidate, and David Townsley, at-large candidate, unopposed. Let's begin. We'll start with opening statements. Mr. Banks.
Hi, my name is John Banks, and I'm asking for your vote. You know me as a leader of the Keep Glenwood Glenwood campaign. That referendum passed with overwhelming support. The results were so encouraging and positive that I decided to run for city council. Glenwood Springs is a wonderful place, and I've been lucky to call it home for 30 years. I feel blessed that my daughter Diana was able to grow up in this incredible community. I'm your neighbor here in Park West. I had a career doing technical work for radio and television stations. What makes Glenwood special is the quality of life that we all share. I'll work to protect and preserve this way of life for future generations and keep Glenwood a place where people act like neighbors with trust and kindness and consideration for one another. My overriding position is, if something makes life better for the people of Glenwood Springs, let's do it. And if not, we need to be very cautious. I work to preserve the airport for firefighting and emergency flights, and to keep our promise to George Summers, who gave the land to the city. In 2022, I read the city's new comprehensive plan, and quality of life was barely mentioned. That inspired me to start Keep Glenwood Glenwood. I brought more than 30 people together in the Keep Glenwood Glenwood movement, and we work to give citizens a voice on important growth decisions. Growth and development aren't bad. They will happen, but we can do better. We all want to make Glenwood better, not just bigger. We must lead the way in stewarding Glenwood's future. Respect the people who live here while balancing the needs of intelligent growth. I'm sure every person on this panel supports emergency services, nice parks and trails, good streets and infrastructure, better transportation, protecting our environment, a good affordable housing plan, and so forth. Heck, I'm in favor of mom, baseball, and apple pie, too. We all hear political speeches about collaboration, thinking outside the box, creative solutions, innovative approaches, and so on. I'll be the first to tell you, I don't have all the answers. My girlfriend tells me I can't even load the dishwasher right. As a council, we all need to listen to experts, to city staff, to colleagues, and more than anything else, to our citizens.
Mr. Schmahl, 2 minutes.
Thank you. My name is Ray Schmahl. I understood this to be a time to give you some background on myself for those who don't know me. I was an Army brat. My family originally is from Buffalo, New York. My father ended up in Colorado Springs after myself and my 5 siblings developed over about a 10-year period. We lived in Buffalo and El Paso, Texas, and Buffalo and El Paso, Texas, and landed in Colorado Springs in 1968. I graduated high school in Colorado Springs and then moved to Greeley to go to school. Went to school in Greeley and stayed there for a couple of years afterwards. Lived in Fort Collins and Greeley, Grand Junction, and ended up in Glenwood Springs in 1984. I came here for the Glenwood Canyon project. So Glenwood Springs has been home to me more than any place else I've ever lived. I've lived here longer than anywhere else. And I decided to call it home after the Glenwood Canyon was done. Had to move around a little bit to make a living that I was accustomed to and to afford to continue to own a home here while I didn't live here. I believe that service to the community is a requirement of responsible citizens. Engaging with responsible citizens and hearing what they have to say is the reason that I'm sitting here tonight. Thank you.
Steve, 2 minutes.
Thank you, Ron. Good evening, everyone. Living in Glenwood Springs is so gratifying. The surrounding landscape and recreation opportunities are stunning and revitalizing. The people here, inspired by that dramatic setting, are smart, engaged, and friendly. City government is at its best when managed professionally and efficiently, embodying that landscape and enabling those people. That is why I'm here to ask for your support to elect me to serve on the Glenwood Springs City Council. I believe that my years of civic service and advocacy give me skills and experience to benefit our community and our environment. I will support projects that diversify opportunities, promote sustainability, encourage vibrant neighborhoods, and improve mobility. I will approach policy decisions with civility, careful listening, and humor, fostering a responsive government that welcomes citizen engagement and ideas. The most basic functions of local government include efficient travel, reliable utilities, and public safety. In addition to fulfilling those basics, important as they are, I will also pursue policies that increase home ownership using existing housing stock. I will support expanded and enhanced transit services and improvements to our local bicycling and walking networks. I will insist that we lead in corralling dysfunctional regional travel patterns to reduce traffic that chokes our community every weekday afternoon. I will celebrate and support parks and recreation that boost active youth, healthy residents, and plenty of fun. Done right, all of these things will perpetuate the joy that living here is, while tempering our impacts on the natural world around us. That really is what all this is about, tweaking our infrastructure, our policies, and our personal habits in order to sustain our community and our world. Thank you.
Dave, 2 minutes.
Good evening. Thanks to everyone who's made this possible tonight. My name is Dave Townsley. I'm running for the open at-large seat for City Council. I live at the top of Walls Avenue with Suzanne Phillips, my partner. She's a PT at Valley View Hospital and our dog buddy. A little bit about me before we get to specific questions. My father was in the National Park Service. I was born in Hilo, Hawaii. I think between then, Hawaii and Walls Avenue, I've lived in 17 different places before I came to the Valley. Walls is my 41st home address. So I've been around a little bit, West Coast, East Coast, big cities, New York City, DC, Philadelphia, Yosemite Valley, Yellowstone. I've been to a lot of really nice places and a lot of different places. Before coming to Glenwood, everywhere I went was for either my parents were moving there was a job there, I was going to school, there was some opportunity to go to that place. When I started visiting the Roaring Fork Valley and Glenwood and everything, I just fell in love with the place. And I'm like, I'm moving there. I told my boss I'm going. If you want to open an office, help yourself, but I will be going there. For 30 years, I ran a mortgage business here, my own company with employees. I've worked for some of the larger banks, worked for 2 or 3 other companies. I've got 2 sons, Matt and Jake. I think a lot of you might know. They've both graduated from high school here. They were born here. Valley View was a single-story building. You only had to take one turn to make it from one end of the hallway to the far end of the hallway. We just had the pleasure of getting Matt married off this past weekend. So I say all of this because I think it qualifies me when I a lot of people say Glenwood's a unique and wonderful place. I've been a lot of places. Glenwood is a unique and really wonderful place. I've had a chance to help people with home financing in the Valley for 30 years. Wherever I go now, I meet people that I've either helped, I've coached with, I've raised kids with, we've lived with, we've played with. It's really fantastic. This place is my home. It's given me so much. And now I'm in a position to be able to give back. Thank you.
First question, we'll start with Ray Schmahl. Is the city on the right track with helping to address the high cost of housing in Glenwood Springs? What more, if anything, should be done?
I'll start by saying that I'm a bit of a skeptic about government involvement in private market activities. Having said that, I do appreciate this, that the city is trying to overcome that problem. It's a big problem. It's a big problem all over the world, not just in Glenwood Springs. It's a problem that I'm absolutely certain we can't completely solve. I believe the best we can do is do something to help. From a private business perspective, from my own personal experience with employees and as an employee, if you want to have people working for you and you want good people working for you, you have to pay them. And you have to pay them not just in salary, but in cost of living for the place that you live. And that's the source of where affordable housing comes in. Affordable can be defined from price, or it can be defined from income. All of the banks are going to look at income versus what you're trying to buy. And that's the bottom line. I don't believe that we're ever going to build our way out of that problem. The demand to live in Glenwood Springs is always going to be way higher than what the supply can satisfy.
Steve, 90 seconds.
Thank you. I have lived in Southwest Glenwood Springs for 36 years. Since before Sopers Elementary, Park West, Park East, or Cardiff Glen existed. When those proposals emerged, I dived into planning processes and comment opportunities to support creative design, trail connections, and smart lighting in order to make new neighbors feel welcome and connected. On City Council, I similarly will seek imaginative policies and designs focused on functional and vibrant neighborhoods and on listening to current residents with ideas about those policies and designs. I will prioritize opportunities and support for those who want to purchase their first home, an act that leads to financial equity, deeper community commitment, being part of those vibrant neighborhoods, and informing good governance. Housing support should prioritize local workers for shorter commutes, more time at home, and more engagement in schools and community. This approach will foster opportunities for next generations to stay here close to extended families and will provide space for seniors who want to simplify their housing. To accomplish this, I will support converting excess rental units into owned homes, reform of construction defects, liability laws, and down payment assistance using revolving funds to assist more families to dig in here. With imagination and patient collaboration, we can accomplish much with the housing we have, limiting the need for new development. Thank you.
It's an interesting question for me because this is what I've done for 35 years here, is help people with housing. When I first moved here, you could buy a nice house in downtown Glenwood for 60 to 70,000. I actually made the mistake of paying over 100,000 for my first home in Carbondale. I talked to my realtor and I said, "This is crazy. Nobody would ever do this, right?" And he says, "Don't worry about it. It'll be okay." Turns out he was right. Your question, I think, asked, is Glenwood on the right track? I don't know that Glenwood is on a track. Nationally, housing prices have gone up. When you look at any place that's a unique place like Glenwood is, where it's a desirable place to live, housing prices are going to keep going up. It's supply and demand. I think I agree with Ray a little bit in that, you know, we can try to work around things, we can do things, we can look at opportunities, we can look at what other people are doing, but it's a problem that's not going to go away. It's, you know, the only thing that's going to make it go away is a recession, is things crumbling, things like that. But even then, we're still in one of the most desirable places to live in the world. You know, you get here and you say, well, where will the people keep coming in? Fly into Los Angeles, fly into Chicago, look at all the people there. People can telecommute now. They can be anywhere they want to be. So it's a problem. It's not going away. We can look to address it, and however we can, there are things that we can do to mitigate it, But no, I don't think that we're on a path that's going to solve this problem.
John, 90 seconds.
Affordable housing is a big issue. The people have voted for a special tax, about $1.7 million a year, to fund affordable. We need to spend that wisely. And we have a workforce housing committee that's working on it, and I think they're doing good work. We're not unique. We should look at what other cities have done, other resort communities, and we should copy their successes, and please, let's avoid their failures. One thing I'm enthusiastic about was discussed at the last workforce housing meeting was helping mobile home park tenants become mobile home park owners. That has a lot of good things. It's got a good track record. First of all, it's been done. It helps them build equity and financial security, which is wonderful. It creates a strong neighborhood filled with people who have a commitment to Glenwood Springs because they're owners. And it keeps us from losing the naturally occurring affordable housing that we already have. And if a mobile home park gets redeveloped and you lose 40 units of affordable housing, you're in a much deeper hole than you were. Thank you.
Steve, you'll lead off here with the next question. What additional types of economic development would you like to see in the community, especially in underutilized areas?
When new development is proposed, more of the decision-making needs to be shifted to city council, elected members who represent you. The council then should promote extensive community review, ideas, and imagination, taking as long as it takes to make that development something that fits our town in scale and in purpose. Speculation is out, building and sustaining community is in. I would support a moratorium on construction of new rental housing, even if just long enough to catch our breath and reassess what kind of housing we need or what other developments we may need to consider, where those would be located, and to enhance our sense of place while finding places to welcome new neighbors. The review process that our Planning and Zoning Commission takes on is full of expertise and full of experience, and we need to really build on that review, but the decisions have got to come back to City Council so that residents who have concerns or comments or smart ideas have a representative body that will be responsive to them. Thank you.
Dave?
I think if I understand your question correctly, it's, you know, what would we like to see economic development wise? The big issue that I see in there is not, okay, do we have X, Y, Z business coming in? We're a bedroom community of Aspen. We're a tourism economy. We're a wonderful place to live. And I think the challenge lies in not so much more what do we look at bringing in as how do we balance what's here? How do we balance the lives of the people that are, I see sitting out here? I know a lot of you have been here longer than I have. That puts you in the 40 plus year category. So how do you balance those needs with somebody that owns a business here, somebody that runs the cavern, somebody that owns the pool? I mean, how do you take those and how do you make decisions that supply the needs of everybody? And you're not going to supply the needs of everybody. You're not going to make everything perfect, you know, but I think, you know, when you look at council and you look at what we would do up here, it's balancing those needs of those two different groups more than bringing in a particular business or this type of business or getting rid of a business.
John, 90 seconds.
Well, tourism drives our economy. It's long been a joke. You just don't go out for brunch on a 3-day weekend. Tourists visit, they leave their money, and that's good for us. Tourists come because Glenwood is a wonderful place. If we keep it wonderful for us, it will be wonderful for them too. We want to have a vibrant downtown with shops and restaurants and businesses, but the internet has changed everything and we have to realize that and deal with it. Retail is tough. Healthcare is big. Apparently government is the largest employment category in Garfield County, and that does worry me a little bit. Contracting seems kind of overheated. Services dominate largely as a part of our tourism economy. We've never been a manufacturing hub. That's not really practical here with our cost of living. Many people work remotely now, and that has had a big impact. It connects us to nationwide markets, but it's also had a big impact on housing demand. I'm very concerned about monopolies like grocery stores. You know, go out and talk to the community and you'll hear over and over, you know, why do we only have one grocery store? That's the sort of thing that we face as a small community with more concentrated business. And it's something we worry about a little bit. Thank you.
Excuse me, Ron, would you mind repeating the question? Maybe before each person speaks or something, or at least more than once?
Certainly.
Yeah, I'll do that. Mr. Schmahl, what additional types of economic development would you like to see in the community, especially in underutilized areas?
I think expanding economic opportunities with services that we have already and could improve on. Such as the concept of a retail center with housing above the retail units. I've seen that in a number of places, and I look at the Glenwood Meadows and I think, geez, every one of those stores up there could have housing up above it, could help make that more of a community in and of itself. So where we have the opportunity to do that here in Glenwood, obviously, is the old Glenwood Springs Mall. I think there's a great opportunity there for economic development, including a more appropriate grocery store for Glenwood Springs, or an additional grocery store for Glenwood Springs. Beyond that, I'm kind of at a loss, so.
Next question, we begin with Dave Townsley. What is your vision for traffic, transportation, and safety in the community?
God, I hate to be the one that keeps saying that a lot of these are going to be issues that are tough, but when I first went out and started a campaign, I was sitting up in Suzanne and Dave's house, and we were looking out the front, and I thought, I've got to take a picture from here. They live up above the golf course, and you look at the valley and it looks like this. And we all know it looks like that, but then everybody talks about, let's do a new study. Let's see if there's another route through Glenwood. It looks like this, everybody. There's not. There's Grand Avenue, there's Midland, tunnel ideas have come up, things like that just probably in the current climate are not feasible, so it's a choke point. It's going to be a choke point now. If we manage to move some traffic from one road to another road, then that road gets faster, then more people are going to come back to the first road and fill that up, and it's going to go back and forth. To me, the answer is going to be mass transit of some type, whether it's using and playing off of RAFTA. We've got RAFTA here. It appears to be a world-class organization as far as how things are going with it. The other piece that I would like to see is possibly looking at, if there's going to be development, if you are going to do more housing, does it make sense to put things on the other side of Glenwood versus the western side of Glenwood? Because then you avoid the choke point. As it is now, there's not another bypass to be done. 75 years ago, if Midland had become the bypass, we'd all be looking back on that now, and it may have created other problems that we don't know what they would have been, but that's probably what should have been done. But is there a great answer on traffic now other than trying to mitigate what we have? I can't tell you that there is.
John, your vision for traffic, transportation, and safety.
Well, we're choking on traffic, and that's what you'll hear from anybody you talk to, especially during the construction at 27th Street. That was miserable for people. It's a tough question. I have a lot of mixed feelings about Southbridge. That is a extremely expensive project. We talk about it as an emergency route, but it's a bypass, and I think we should say that, recognize it, accept it, and discuss it in that way. It will improve traffic on Grand Avenue for a while. It won't reduce traffic, but it'll move a lot of it over to Midland. That's going to have an impact on a lot of people in Ward 5 where I live. Even people over there have mixed feelings about it. Some are concerned about the impact. Others say, finally, I don't have to go up to 27th Street to get out. It does seem to me like both as an escape route and as a bypass, a tremendous amount of the benefit accrues to county residents who are up 4 Mile Road. And I don't see the county stepping up on this project yet, and that concerns me a little bit. Thank you.
Mr. Schmahl, vision for traffic, transportation, and safety.
I don't really have a solution even in my head for traffic and transportation. I built a number of projects around the country to try to help alleviate those problems in other places. I'm skeptical of mass transit. I know that we built 10 miles of light rail in Honolulu, Hawaii, and before it was done, there was more traffic than what the light rail had the capacity to carry. The increase from the time we started building to the time we finished, the population had grown more than the capacity of that light rail system. It was a financial boondoggle and did no good for anybody to alleviate traffic. Most mass transit systems are doing a good job if they're paying 30% of their cost with their fares. So the taxpayers better be ready to subsidize whatever mass transit stuff they're thinking about bringing on. Safety is something that I think we can all do something about. And I look forward to the results of the survey that's going on right now by the consultant for safety, traffic safety in Glenwood. I nearly hit a pedestrian last night coming out of the pool. It was very dark. They were crossing at the Hotel Colorado. There was no light. I didn't see him.
Steve, you touched on this a little bit in your opening, transportation, traffic, and safety.
Thank you. Transportation and its array of options have long fascinated me, currently as a member of the city's Transportation Commission, but in other roles as well. In college, I convinced the student body to self-assess a fee that launched public transit in Fort Collins. 32 years ago, I led the city election victory to build the River Trail, opening railroad corridor for walking, bicycling, and commuting. 20 years ago, I managed the Full Valley campaign, winning in 5 towns and 2 counties that strengthened RAFTA, built the Glenwood to Aspen Rio Grande Trail, and brought transit service to Glenwood Springs for the first time. In 2017, I organized volunteer bicycle ambassadors to promote bicycling during the Grand Avenue Bridge replacement detours, doubling bicycling trips. Last year, I helped secure voter approval for a renewed and expanded Streets and Infrastructure Fund. That program now puts every single street and the infrastructure underneath on a schedule for maintenance, repair, even replacement, starting soon in Glenwood Park. My opponent wrote publicly against that innovative Streets and Infrastructure Fund, struggling to cast it as some sort of pothole conspiracy and apparently leaving the streets to fix themselves. On City Council, I will support that street and improvement program, monitoring it for efficiency and smart design. I also will continue to press for expanded transit services, especially into the Southwest neighborhoods, and fixing our walking and bicycling routes and promote increased use of all those options. Thank you.
Next question, we start with John. What experience do you have on boards or commissions, and or what conversations have you had with city staff to learn how the city functions?
I think that most of my involvement with governmental operations has sort of been from the outside, both working with the group that was working to preserve the airport and working with the Keep Glenwood Glenwood organization. Recently, I started serving on the city's charter committee, which is tasked with recommending changes to update the city's charter, which was, I guess, drafted originally in 1966 and has been amended and changed since then. So we're working through that now, and that's a very interesting process.
Right. Again, for our listening audience and for our audience here in the room, what experience do you have on boards or commissions, and or what conversations have you had with city staff to learn how the city functions?
I presume that question is city boards and staff. I have no experience on city boards or commissions. I've had moderate conversations with council people and with staff from the city over the last couple of years. I served on the Garfield County Planning and Zoning Commission some years ago, So I have some experience in how that works. I have served on industry boards and staff.
Okay. Steve, your experience on boards or commissions and conversations you've had with city staff and how the city functions.
Thank you. I was delighted to serve on the inaugural River Commission for the city, where we organized major river cleanups that continue to this day. We secured access to and along our rivers, and we established the Hillside Preservation Zoning District to keep our river corridors natural and unharmed. I'm delighted that the River Commission has, in recent years, revived its focus on the rivers themselves, on their health, protection, and our appreciation of them. For the last 5 years, I've served on the city's Transportation Commission, where we advise city council and as an interim way, advise city staff in engineering and public works on detailed design reviews and on big picture safety and traffic options and travel options. It's been a delight to do those 5 years of work with a very professional staff that is open to creative ideas and open to the input from citizens like us. We also try to then take that opportunity out to listen to more people on the trail side, at the bus stops, in the parking lots, to bring that information back in. It's a fascinating process and a neat opportunity, and I've enjoyed it.
And again, just to clarify, it is not city specific as far as commissions or boards. Certainly your experience in P and Z with the county is noteworthy. So anything that you have in your experience. So Dave, your experience on boards or commissions and what conversations you've had with city staff to learn how the city functions.
So no boards or commissions experience. My hat's off to the people that have done this job in the past and are currently doing this job, that are raising families and working full-time jobs and whatnot. So I don't know how you do it. I have had numerous conversations as we've gotten going. Last week, Steve was nice enough to invite me up and meet with department heads. What I've really been trying to do to get my feet on the ground going into this is to talk to people that have done the job before. Luckily to know quite a few of the past commissioners that are around, and I've had conversations, met with coffee with probably half a dozen and still have more on my list to go, to talk about what were you doing when you were here? What knowledge do you have? What were you planning? What were you thinking? Because this board turns over every 4 years or 6 years or 8 years. And I think we lose that continuity. New people come in with new agendas, new ways of doing things. People get off and everything that they've done goes out. I had a great lunch with Shelley before we got going. And, I'm like, tell me what you've done. Tell me where you're going. Tell me what the challenges are that you see going forward. And I think one of the things that I really want to do on council is to keep that alive and use that resource that's here in the town, because these people, most of them still live in the town. Paonia is not that far away. Let's use that resource. And, the people love Glenwood as much as we do. We might have different views on things, but I think it's something that can be used, and that would be where I would put my efforts.
Next question, we begin with Mr. Schmahl. What role do you think the city council has in helping nonprofits to support those in need within our community?
Limited. Again, I'm skeptical of government's involvement in private operations. I do believe that the council and the city, when possible, should help those that help others. I think the first priority is that the city should focus on the things that the city is responsible for. If there's additional capacity beyond that, then yes, of course, we should help all of those who try to help others.
Steve, again, the question is, what role do you think the city council has in helping nonprofits to support those in need?
The array of organizations and volunteer programs that are in Glenwood Springs add to the dynamism of it and add to the diversity of perspectives and ideas on how we can make this city keep the city as vibrant as it is. The grants program through the Financial Advisory Board is a brilliant program. It brings in partners to enhance what the city government is doing in its own services. And the more that we focus on that technique, the more the city government is going to function better, and the more the town itself is going to be that much more dynamic and that much more engaging and intriguing to both visitors and to residents. So I love the idea of partnerships, and if a little bit of that is financial partnership, then terrific.
Again, Dave, you think the city council's role in helping nonprofits and those in need?
I agree kind of a little bit with both of what you said. I think that, city council, when you say what's city council's role, I looked up what a city council does, and its job is it's a governing body of people elected to oversee the management of the city and represent the interests, concerns, and opinions of the residents. It's not to manage the city. There are funds that are set aside. These are good places. That people come up with various ideas. There's some that are here. There's always new ones coming up. As I've watched old council meetings, one of the things that's come up is, do you continually keep funding time after time after time and become a funding source for a nonprofit? Or do you incubate and get some things started that then people take and run with themselves and, find like-minded people that are interested in doing those same sorts of things and get them off the ground and get them going? Do I think that city's job or government's job is to take on all of those things from a cost standpoint? Probably not. But they're, totally in favor of getting things started, getting them going, supporting where we can, again, as the budget permits.
John, city council's role in helping nonprofits and those in need.
It just really comes down to a matter of fiscal responsibility. The city has a lot of essential things that it must do, things we must pay for out of the budget: police, fire, streets, snow plowing, everything else. To the extent that we can, like probably all of us, we will support charitable causes. And there will always be more charitable causes applying than the city has budget. We will have to choose. This has been going on for a long time. I think it's probably done quite well. We'll continue.
First question on the next question for start off with Steve. How can the community best balance tourism and quality of life for residents?
Thank you. Much of the vibrancy of Glenwood Springs comes from its natural recreation. The appeal that brings that has for visitors to bring them here. That same beauty, those trails, rivers, hot springs, restaurants, music, art, and other opportunities that they enjoy, we enjoy. Towns this size in less diverse and beautiful settings do not have the amenities that keep us refreshed, healthy, inspired, and entertained. Nor do towns in other locations have the sales tax revenue that supports the reliable modern municipal services that we enjoy here. That is why keeping healthy, well-managed, sustainable tourism is so essential to our local economy, but also to our personal lifestyle and the qualities that living here include. That in turn is why a modest, accountable measure of tourism promotion is beneficial to our visitors and to us.
Dave, balancing tourism and quality of life.
This is probably, I think, one of the things that, a lot of people don't just come out and say it, but it's starting to divide a lot of communities. It's starting to divide cities. We were lucky enough to go to Venice 2 years ago. They now have a tax on tourism coming in. You're seeing it all over Europe. You're seeing it all over the nice places where places are getting loved to death. You've got people that live there that are going, we're tired of this. You've got people that run businesses there that say, we want more of this. I think one of the main challenges that city council will face is trying to bring those two things together. Aspen Chamber Resort Association has done a huge study recently, and they're looking at it, but what they're balancing is they're finding out we've got angry residents, we've got people that have been here that have said enough is enough. We still have, it's a tourism economy. That's where money comes from. That's where the dollars come from to fund charitable organizations, streets, taxes, all those different things like that. So I think finding a balance is going to be the key issue. I think one of the things that I bring to the table is the ability to listen to a lot of different sides. people are gonna have to compromise. You're not gonna be able to say, we're gonna do it all one way. And I think bringing people together and trying to figure out, okay, where's there a solution that works for everybody? Because it is an issue. It's not just here in Glenwood, it's everywhere in the world.
John, balancing tourism and quality of life.
Well, tourism drives our economy. It's good for us. Tourists come, they pay taxes, and it lets us run Glenwood on other people's money, which makes Glenwood great. But it does have impacts on our quality of life as well. I think the fundamental way to think about it is, if we make Glenwood good for us, it will be good for the tourists.
Mr. Schmahl, balancing tourism and quality of life.
Yeah, ditto from my early years in Colorado Springs. We saw it. Colorado Springs was a big tourist destination. And even then, there was resentment among the locals because they were being invaded by tourists all the time. There's certainly that animosity here in Glenwood, in some quarters and among some people. You know, little things like having to make a reservation to go Hanging Lake. We don't have to do that. But we do, because it's such a popular place. And it's going to be tough. I wish it was so simple as saying, okay, the gate's closed now today, Vail Pass is closed, no more tourists. But it doesn't work like that. So I don't know the answer, but I think we need to keep that focus of the balance in mind, because it is good for all of us. We're also, in my mind, we're somewhat subject to, but also insulated from the national economy. If we rely too heavily on tourism, it could go away. The national economy could get to such a point as we don't have the tourists anymore. So we need to be prepared for that also.
Everyone in the audience, can you hear okay? No complaints? Okay. Next question, begin with Dave Townsley. How would you suggest we foster relationships to increase opportunities for members of our Latino community to get involved in city government, boards, and commissions?
I think there's a big cultural difference, obviously, stating the obvious. How do you get people involved? You've got to have people that want to get involved. And I think that whether they're Latino, whether they're wherever they're from, I think people, you want them involved in the city. Once people buy homes, you know, once they get to be part of the city, once their kids are going to school here, then I think all of a sudden you get buy-in to the community. I think the other side of that is you also have to have people wanting to go, okay, how do we buy into this community? It's a place that we've come to. I think by and large, most people in Glenwood have welcomed people of diverse backgrounds with open arms. Is there a specific program that we do to bring people in? I don't know about that. I mean, it seems like we have signage, we have everything done in bilingual pieces out there. But I think that some of that responsibility goes back onto the people that are assimilating into our city, into our place, to go, okay, I want to become involved. I want to take part. I want my voice to be heard. Let them come forth and do that. And my guess is they'd be welcomed with open arms, and people would love to see it.
John, getting the Latino community more involved and engaged in city life and city operations.
I think it'll come with time. We need to be very welcoming, of course, and make sure that anyone who wants to get involved has that opportunity and is welcomed and encouraged to do so. That's really important. Certainly a big factor is age. I think if you look at a lot of the Latino population, they are working. They have families with young children. They are working. And when I was working and had a young daughter, I did not have the time to get involved. And I think that's probably one of the biggest barriers. I think as these people reach the stage in their life where they have more time, maybe where their children are grown and they don't have those commitments, that's when we may see a lot more involvement from our Latino community.
Mr. Schmahl, I'll repeat the question. How would you suggest we foster relationships to increase opportunities for members of our Latino community to get involved in city government, boards, and commissions?
I'm not sure I understand the premise of the question. I think our city government should be open and blind to race, creed, color, ethnicity, any of those aspects. And if we're open and inviting, I think that's the limits of our responsibility. I think we should not see individual communities of, you know, what, renters, buyers, visitors, locals. We need to treat everybody equally across the board.
Steve, your response to that question?
Somewhere between 35 and 40% of our population are Latino or Spanish language or Spanish surname. That's a powerful and critical part of our knitted together community, and knitting that together better for anybody who lives here is a priority. One of my basic principles is to be a thorough listener, be a thoughtful listener, reflect, listen again, discuss, and then make some decisions. That listening part, both of those stages of listening part, has to be much more active than we tend to be. A lot of times we say, well, there's an opportunity. Let's invite comment. Let's wait and see who speaks up. But outreach to anybody in town of whatever race or category or background is an opportunity for the city to engage. We need to be more deliberate about going out to seek where we can listen to people, not just wait for them to come to us. We have some, again, we talked about partnerships a minute ago, and we have some remarkable partners in right here in Glenwood Springs with Voces Unidas and the Valley Settlement Project. People who understand that part of our community, those people who maybe have a different language base. And so working with those organizations can be a part of answering this particular question, but it also is a part of a bigger effort to be more active as listeners and to invite people to participate.
John, what does keep Glenwood Glenwood mean to you?
When someone moves to Glenwood, I don't think they get it right away. But after they've been here a year or two, they start saying hi to everybody on the trail. They start driving a little slower, and they'll wave somebody in when the traffic gets bad. And they start being nice to everybody because that person they were rude to in the grocery store turns out to be their kid's second grade teacher. There is a spirit of Glenwood Springs that you catch after you've been here a while, and saving that spirit where people are neighbors, treat each other with kindness and consideration. This is valuable. I saw it and fell in love with it when I moved here. I want to make sure we do not lose that.
Right. What does keep Glenwood mean to you?
Echoing some of John's thoughts, it is a community. It's people going to the high school play and seeing people that they know there and visiting. It's community. It's community with mutual interest in their neighbors' well-being.
Steve?
I think it's important to make a distinction between nostalgia and imagination. Glenwood Springs is a vibrant, dynamic town and always has been. It's not a place that lends itself to being treated like a museum piece. Rather, it is a place where new ideas are generated, where business thrives, and where living is pleasant, all built by people who are living here while sharing it with visitors and newcomers. Catchy slogans can be momentarily inspiring or comforting, but real effort is what gets the job done. We must turn from what we think we fear and focus instead on active engagement and exchange of ideas with each other and with our government. That's the way we maintain and enhance the place that we love living.
Dave, keep Glenwood Glenwood. What does that mean to you?
If you take some time, it's a great exercise to do. But if you pull into Glenwood from Carbondale direction and you look down, for those of us who've been here a long time, and you look at every building that you drive by and say, was this here when I got here? Or was this been changed since I got here? It is amazing. Almost, I can look down, it's like, oh, almost everything's changed. So keeping Glenwood, Glenwood from that perspective is probably, that cat's out of the bag. That never is gonna happen. It's not gonna happen in the future. I think what John alluded to and what's correct is what makes Glenwood a great place. I mean, there's some physical things. You have two rivers come together here. You have Aspen 40 minutes away. You have Vale 40 minutes away. You have the most wonderful weather in the world. I mean, other than some fire danger, there's really not much that can go wrong here. You have people here that are wonderful, that love each other. I was lucky enough to coach kids through Little League and Pee Wee football and all those other things, and the people come together for those pieces. And I think when you say what makes Glenwood, Glenwood, what keeps it Glenwood, it's those people, and it's us. It's these people in the room. It's people volunteering to spend time up here. It's people coming to care that we volunteer to spend time up here. So I think that's what Glenwood is. Glenwood's, it's a physical thing. It's changing, but it's still a place that I hope we can keep, you know, some of that piece alive.
Next question, we begin with Ray Schmahl. Can you point to a recent decision that was made at the local level that either aligned with or ran contrary to your personal values?
Is that one question or two?
Can Ingrid step out?
Well, thank you for the opportunity to expound on this. I first started getting interested in what the city was up to most recently since I retired and had the time to do that, when the city was proposing to rezone large swaths of the city. And I took personal offense at the approach that the city took with that. And so I reacted to it and hopefully was influential in getting it taken off the table. But the rezoning proposal was to make what was single-family residential zoned areas, make that area duplexes a use by right. And I know many of the people who have bought single-family residential properties bought into a neighborhood that they have specific property rights guaranteed by that zoning. And for city council to have the moral authority to take that away was offensive to me. I dug into it pretty deeply and found that most of the thinking that went into that was focused on more of the downtown area, the density in the downtown area that's already dense. But it included
Time.
a prized golf course that the city has.
Steve, can you point to a recent decision that was made at the local level that either aligned with or ran contrary to your personal values?
I was delighted and so proud when the voters of Glenwood Springs approved the Streets and Infrastructure Fund, 2A for short, on the ballot. This, as I discussed a little bit before, this revitalized fund is going to touch every street in town during the life of the tax. Sometimes that's going to be simple repairs, sometimes complete rebuild, and doing it right with digging from the infrastructure underneath up to the surface of the road and the base layers in between, all in one. So you don't do one job in a neighborhood and have to come back next year and do the other job and rip up what you did in the before. It's becoming so much more efficient under this design to have funds set aside for that. What really makes me excited about it is that proposal was based on meticulous staff work that went through and identified every single street and its condition and put out an outline for where this money would be used. So that when we voted on it, we knew where this was going to have positive effect. The second exciting part about this is that neighborhoods are going to have better streets. They're going to have better sidewalks, better crosswalks, safer ways of moving by any mode of travel. And that is going to have a remarkable ripple effect of pride in community, pride in home, pride in neighborhood, and interaction with neighbors on the final design processes for your particular portion of that work. It's just going to be a bubbling improvement to the whole town. And I'm thrilled that the city council pushed it to the voters for their consideration and the voters approved it.
Dave, a recent decision that was made at the local level that either aligned with or ran contrary to your personal values.
Okay. Recent, I know what recent means. This may go back a little too far, hopefully not. One of the things that I think, when you look at city council decisions they make is this going to be something that you look back on and this was a good idea? City council had the foresight to limit the number of short-term rentals in the downtown core section in town to where it can only be 5% of the available units in town. That was such a powerful decision. It's one of them that I was so in favor of, and I think that will do more to keep Glenwood, Glenwood. There's towns out there now that their downtowns are 50-60% short-term rentals. If we want to keep Glenwood, Glenwood, and we want to have the town that we love, making those types of decisions that now you're looking back on a few years ago and saying, wow, that was well done, well put out there. I couldn't think of a better one to example of something that, this is how I want to, if somebody looks back at some of the things we do on council over the next 4 years and says, man, you saved us, you dodged a bullet on this one. I think that's what our job is. And I think, hopefully some of those things will come up and hopefully we'll make the right decisions.
John, recent decision you agreed with or disagreed with?
Well, I'm going to go back a little farther probably, but I'm going to talk about something that I think the city did so well. And maybe people think that I am always negative, but I'm not. The city's broadband initiative was tremendous. By providing fiber optic service for the internet to people's homes, they gave us a future-proof data service, and that matters now. For so many of the work from home people, that's critical. It's going to matter 10 years from now. It's going to matter 30, 40 years from now. So the foresight was wonderful. The service is affordably priced. It works very well. It's well managed. It has had one other side effect that I don't know if everybody appreciates, but it's absolutely brilliant. If we didn't have that, Comcast would have a monopoly on your internet service. And I don't think Comcast would be treating you very nicely if they had a monopoly.
Next question, we begin with Steve. If you could choose one thing to accomplish during the next 4 years, what would that be?
Only one? I am really excited about the common of bringing together the tapestry of housing and transportation. And so the first step in that hopeful accomplishment is recognizing just how overlapping they are. Where you live affects where you travel. How you travel affects where you can live. We often treat those as separate topics, but if we begin to recognize that one affects the other, and therefore integrate our advisory commissions, integrate our policies, and begin to think about one when considering remedies on the other, I think that's going to make us a lot smarter as a community, because everybody's got ideas about both of those. And bringing all those ideas into a mix is going to give us a remarkable weaving of new vision and new functionality in town. And I think City Council can lead on doing that combination.
Dave, one thing to accomplish, you hope to accomplish in the next 4 years, what would that be? Or 2 or 3, if you want.
I'm glad you said 2 or 3, because I met with Steve Boyd the other day and he asked me the same question. And he told me we've got a problem with the general fund. There's not enough money in it. I hate trash. I hate littering. And I know this is small compared to some of these other things, but if you get on the freeway, I know you travel down there at West Glenwood, you get on there, it's a trash dump. I suggested maybe the first thing we do is we have meet your new city council members and your city staff at a trash cleanup day out there. Get everybody to show up. So that's my small pet peeve that I would just love to see us work on. maybe getting people to actually think about that as they go through a city and say, hey, let's take a little pride here. This is a place we live, whether it's picking up dog poop and putting it in the can that's right in front of you with the plastic bag that's right next to you when your dog took a poop there. So that's kind of my little thing. So, and then the other thing that I'd like to be looked back on, and I kind of go back to what's the purpose of a city council, and that's representing the interest and the concerns and the opinions of people. And I would like people to look back after 4 years and say, you know what, he didn't have an agenda when he got there. He wasn't trying to do A, B, or C or stop A, B, or C, but he listened to us. And he represented what we think, what we want, what our opinions are. And if people said that about us and there was a little less trash around, I'd be real happy.
John, what would you hope to accomplish during the next 4 years?
Okay, amen to what Dave said. I saw a lady walking down Midland Avenue the other day. She had a trash bag and she just seemed to be picking up the random stuff was there. And I thought, what a wonderful person that is. But, and I will be happy to join your trash collection.
Be a great place to meet your new city council, right?
I think probably one of the best things we could achieve would be to foster economic success for the people in Glenwood Springs without losing our quality of life.
Ray, what would you hope to accomplish in the next 4 years?
If at the end of my term, the majority of our citizens say that council has continued on the path that it was on at the beginning, listening to the citizens and responding to their concerns, so that we have less of the environment that causes people like Ingrid to say, I've had enough. When this council can answer the criticisms with rational and verifiable data, I think it'll be a groundwork foundation for future councils.
Next, we begin with Dave. Describe your leadership style.
Collaborative. I've had 2 or 3 people ask me to run for city council over the last 6 months. And you said, well, what would I do? I haven't been on committees. I haven't been on P&Z. I haven't done some of these traditional things. And they said, you've got common sense. You'll listen to people. You'll try to bring people together. You're not argumentative. It's my nature. It's not something that I have to work hard to try to do. If you can bring people together, there's tons of people with good ideas, whether it's private citizens, whether we're talking to those people, whether we're listening to them. When people have good ideas, it's like, take the time to sit down and go, explain this to me. Why are you thinking this? There's more knowledge out in the town of Glenwood Springs than there is sitting up here. I can tell you that for sure. There's more knowledge than people who've done this job before that manage our city. So I think just being a collaborative person that listens, that, cares about people's opinions, whether I agree with them or don't agree with them.
John, your leadership style.
If I get to sit up here, I'm going to buy a big box of Q-tips and put it right here, and that's going to remind me what to do.
Want to elaborate?
Nope, that's it.
Ray, your leadership style.
Someone called it slightly right of Attila the Hun in my past life. I'll have to modify that quite a bit for council. But my leadership style is primarily consensus building. In the construction industry, you don't do anything on your own. It's all part of a team, and the team has to be playing the same cards in the same direction in order to accomplish anything effectively. And that's what I would strive to do here.
Steve, your leadership style.
For a long time, my style has been to just jump in and do everything and take on all the tasks myself and just get overwhelmed and have some successes and then realize I'm kind of out there alone. And I've learned in recent years, serving on some city commissions, but also in some other projects professionally, that having people along and actually more often going along with people is a much more powerful way to get things done. If things that you accomplish stick because more people have bought into it from the beginning. And the ideas that are generated by having a group work on it is just smarter from the start. So my leadership style is now focused on actively listening to people, going out and finding out what they think, and doing that by hearkening back to my old style, which is to just jump in and get something done and start digging away at solutions and putting out new ideas. Why haven't we done it this way before? Let's try this. And then that stirs up the conversation. So I'm still going to be a nuisance with smart aleck ideas or out of the blue ideas, but then I'm going to really draw in people's companion ideas or opposing ideas to make that really more deep and more effective.
Our last question, start with John. How could city council improve collaborative efforts with other governmental entities and community partners, whether it be state, county, federal?
I think we probably want to work on building some bridges out to the county commissioners and trying to work more cooperatively with them on some things. Southbridge is probably one of the best examples of that. Obviously, the city has relationships with all sorts of commissions that are involved with the Colorado River, with state lawmaking, with other things. I am no expert on those.
Right? The council, how can the council improve collaborative efforts with other governmental entities?
Yeah, that's a that's a big mystery to me. It seems we're so geographically connected and so close together with Newcastle, Silt, Rifle, Carbondale, and Garfield County, and I haven't seen that kind of collaboration, and I don't understand why. I know all of the county commissioners, and they seem open to me to that sort of collaboration. I recently saw a new group that's called the Colorado River Valley Economic Development Group. And it looks like they're trying to do the same thing with Newcastle, Silt, and Rifle. And I was surprised to see that we weren't involved in that. Because it really is, most of our biggest problems are affecting all of these towns and Garfield County. So I will do what I can to help improve that collaboration. And I think together we'll come up with even better solutions than what we can come up with on our own here.
Steve, your thoughts?
Glenwood Springs is the smartest town around. In imagination, in new initiatives, in being willing to try new ideas. Leading by example is how we're going to create more interaction with other communities and other governments. Taking the initiative to improve on our housing creativity, on our transportation solutions, leading on the valley transportation in particular, because we are where it gets tight. But showing that we have such an array of talent in this town from all sorts of different disciplines, we can just really shine as a creative body, community and city council, and the others will start coming here for ideas, and that will get the conversation going.
Dave, how could the council improve collaborative efforts with other governmental entities?
Two pieces, and they've both been addressed. I think the most important one to me is county commissioners. Again, I've talked to a lot of people coming into this, and the thing that surprised me the most was that there apparently is a fairly good disconnect between commissioners, sometimes county commissioners, and city council, and that just makes no sense whatsoever. It was a surprise. It would be something that I would hope that, for maybe it's just personalities. I'm not even sure that anybody's told me a great reason as to why that is, but I mean, we're such a great part of Garfield County. I mean, we can't exist without each other. The bypass the safety issues, all these things like that. We're the same people. I mean, we're all part of Garfield County. Garfield County is, goes through Glenwood Springs. So I think that's really important. I also know the county commissioners. I'm not real familiar with Will Perry, but I think that we can, if there are issues, then let's get together and talk about them and see if we can straighten it out to where we're all working towards the same goal, which I think should be all of our goals. The other one for me is that a lot of our issues here, whether it's traffic, whether it's housing, whether it's affordable housing, a lot of that comes down from down valley, Aspen, Pitkin County, all those places like that. And I think we have to look at that and go, okay, how do we work together? Because you want people to show up here at 5 in the morning, ready to work and do everything. You want them to leave at 5 at night. That comes down here. It stresses our police, it stresses our fire, it stresses our housing, it stresses our streets. So if we don't work together in some of this, we're gonna end up losing that battle.
All right, before we get to closing statements, again, I want to thank the candidates for participating and to the interested voters for listening tonight and viewing. Thanks to our host, the City of Glenwood Springs. It's been brought to you courtesy of the Glenwood Springs Chamber, the Glenwood Springs Post-Independent, and KMTS. Links to the Zoom recording of tonight's event will be available on KMTS.com, postindependent.com, and glenwoodchamber.com. KMTS will also rebroadcast the event. Remember, Election Day is Tuesday, April 1st. No fooling. Closing statements. We'll begin with Ray Schmahl. 2 minutes.
Well, thanks for the interest in being here and hearing us try to be politicians. I'd like to start by complimenting the existing council and their efforts to help bring back accountability and responsibility to city government. I think there had been an increasing amount of us versus them mentality between the community and the council. And I think the existing council has moved in the right direction quite a bit for improving that. I'd like to see us continue that direction. I'd like to see us continue to improve the staff that we have with the city right now and improve their ability to do some of the work that we pay outsiders to do when probably we can do as well. I think I've said enough.
All right. Steve Smith, 2 minutes.
Thank you all very much for listening and for considering my experience, my zeal, and my ideas. Thanks to everybody who's watching from afar or who will be over the next few days due to the helpful recording services of our hosts. Thanks to those hosts, the radio, the newspaper, and the chamber for always being the reliable team that creates this opportunity for interchange. Thanks to the city for hosting this event. You can learn more details about me and my experience and those ideas that I've been trying to pitch at the internet site steveforglenwood.org. You can also write to me via email at an address shown on that site. Glenwood Springs is a marvelous place and we are good people. Combining those features is powerful and a recipe for success. On City Council, I will listen, then respond thoughtfully. I will engage with civility and goodwill. I will honor citizen knowledge and input. My guiding principles are livable community, responsive government, engaged citizens. If you agree with this vision and these priorities, please vote for me, Steve Smith, to represent Southwest Glenwood Springs on City Council. Thank you.
Dave, 2 minutes.
Thanks, Ron. Thanks, Angie, for putting this piece together today. I want to also say thanks to the people that have been on council that are still going to remain on council for your efforts. I think you have to have a little thicker skin. I also want to say thanks to Matt Sims. I haven't had the chance to meet him yet, but he was going to be my opponent and he's not, but he served on P&Z. He stepped up when Shelley stepped down and gave forth his efforts. So I appreciate that. And hopefully we'll get a chance to meet at some point. I've known Shelley, I bring her up because that's the seat that I'm really kind of taking over here. she's done a wonderful job for a lot of years. I hope I can continue some of that and do some things that will be looked on well as well. My skill set is not having the perfect solution to each problem. It's what I do believe is I can come to the table, I can listen to people, I can help make decisions that are going to be decisions we can look back on and be proud of, and are going to meet the needs of the majority of the people if we can do that. There are challenges all over the country and the world of bringing people together where you have, okay, the people that live here are getting a little tired of tourism. The people that have businesses want more tourism. And I think that's going to be the biggest challenge that we look at when we go forth, is how do we meld the two of those together in something that works for everybody. I appreciate the support I've received from people. Look forward to giving back in any way that I can. And the last thing, I read this morning, and it really touched me kind of, and it said, you know, criticism and praise, the guy was talking about, criticism comes out very quickly and quite frequently. Praise is much slower to come out and not near as often. And everybody that's up here tonight is volunteering to put themselves out and open themselves up to a lot of criticism. And I hope people will look at that and go, wait a minute, we all want what's best for Glenwood, maybe in slightly different ways here and there, but you know, it's just one of those places where you look at it and you go, if you do nothing and you are no one, nobody can ever criticize you. When you step up and you say, I want to step forward and lead or put myself out there, then, you know, congratulations for all wanting to step into that. That's it. Thank you, everybody.
And finally, John Banks, 2 minutes.
Well, Ron, thanks for hosting this tonight and giving up your time this evening. My thanks also to the Post and Peter Bauman for, you know, being a big part of this thing. Thank you, Angie, for putting this on and hosting it and doing all the logistics to make it happen. My thanks to the chamber. And thank you all for taking the time to attend tonight. It takes good citizens like you to make good communities. We know that many of the concerns regarding Glenwood are universal: traffic, housing, tourism, environment, business, infrastructure. I do believe that transparency, accountability, and honesty are vital to good government. And if you trust me with your vote, I promise that I will listen. I will work to preserve our small town, mountain town way of life. And I will be guided by one principle: does what we do make life better for the people in Glenwood Springs? Thank you.
And one last thank you to our trustee timer, Tara Harmon. Thank you so much. Gentlemen, thank you. Good luck in the election. And thank you again for running for office. Thank you to the audience, and have a good evening.